Hey guys, this is Blake with the Three Hand Hunter channel, and you're probably looking at this watch asking, wow, what is that? This is the Helson Porthole. It's probably one of those watches you may never have heard of. Well, you know, I always like to pride myself as a watch enthusiast. I kind of know what watches are out. I don't necessarily go to all the forums and find out what's upcoming, but when there's a new release, I keep track of it, and I know most of the micro brands out there. There's a few that get past me, but not very many. And definitely when I'm aware of a micro brand like Helsin, which I've owned a couple in the past, I'll talk about that in a minute. I usually know the models that they have out, and this was one of those that I had no idea that Helsin made one of these or made this particular model. So this is the Helson Porthole, and I'm super excited to show it to you today. Special thanks to my friend Bob. You know, locally where I live, I have a couple of guys that I hang out with that are watch guys. We met on the forums. I actually sold Bob a watch initially. That's how I met him. I met Andrew on one of the Watch You Seek forums, I believe, or random Rob comments. I can't remember, but we love to meet up every couple months and talk watches and drink some coffee, and it's awesome. It's great, especially if you live in an area and you don't know any watch people. It's nice to have some folks that you can share some common interests with. And Bob happens to have one of the best collections of divers out there, and I was seeing him and I asked, hey, could I borrow a couple of these more unique divers? So the Helson Porthole is one of them, and this is a recent purchase of his, and so I can't wait to just show it to you because there is nothing else out there from videos about this particular watch, and I'm sure some of you that know of this watch, you know this model, you really want to see it and learn what it's all about. Now, before I get into it, I just want to say, if you like to see watches that you're not going to see all the time on all these YouTube review channels, subscribe to the channel. I try to show you my collection and watches that I find interesting, and they're not always your run-of-the-mill newest, latest release. It just isn't. Also, comment on this video if you had one or had some experiences with this one, because like I said, I'm pretty excited to show it to you. All right, so let's talk about the dimensions, dimensions of this watch. This is a 40 millimeter case, 14 millimeter height. The lug to lug is 47.6, so the website says, but I would actually say that it wears probably less than that, because you can see these arms right here, the lugs that stick out, you can tell they're attached to the case. This is just a round case, which with these arms sticking out, which is unique in itself. It weighs 102 grams, 20 millimeter lug width, and by the dimensions, you look at it and you would probably say, wow, wears pretty well. And you know what? It does. It is not, I thought it was bigger looking at the pictures. However, on the Helsin website, as of 2021, mid 2021, they have a 44 millimeter bronze. Now this is the stainless steel version. I love this version because of some of the details here. Look at the bronze pieces that have been attached to this case. Now, I don't know how they're attached. I don't really want to know, but look at the dual crowns and look at the bronze pieces out of the porthole. Obviously it's to look like a ship's porthole, right? I mean, how unique is this? Super unique, and it wears really well. I'll put it on my wrist in just a bit. But sapphire crystal, it is thick double dome, they say, Helsin says. Sapphire crystal exhibition case back. It's a 500 meter water resistant watch. So it's obviously it's ready for action. Inside AR coating, which is nice. If you've ever had a watch with outside AR coating, like I'll give you an example. Damasco is a company. I've had a couple of their watches, and I've I've seen a couple of scratches on the outside AR, and it looks kind of ugly when that happens, especially if you beat up your watches. But having inside AR is really, really nice. And look at the dial. Look at that matte black dial. It's beautiful, right? And the handset's just a sword style. I guess I call that a sword style, but it's like, you know, broadsword? No, I don't know. But the handset is nice. It's unique. And the one thing I love about this watch is it's not a homage to anything. Obviously, it's its own animal, and it is unique. And I know you're gonna look at it and go, ah, I hate it, or oh my gosh, I love it. And personally, even though I like stranger watches, this wasn't my cup of tea, and isn't my cup of tea even after I've held it and wore it. It's just not something that I'd search out. But when I saw it, I definitely didn't like it. Now that I've held it and I've wore it and I've spent some time with it, I like it. I do. But again, it's not something that I'd probably wear. It'd be more of like one of those wild card watches that you'd have in your collection that just, you know, you wear it just to, you know, feel a little different or maybe get some attention. That's how I view this Helsin. But it fits really well. And I want to show you how the bezels, the crowns work. Because, you know, obviously there's a crown on both sides. And like I said, look at the detail of the case. I just want to show you the brushing. There's no polished surfaces that I can see, but it's a screw down. Well, this is a screw down case back, but then the lugs are screwed in right here. You can see like a Panerai. If you've ever had a radio mirror, which I've owned, you can unscrew that and pull out the lugs right there. So that's what will take the lugs out. So this is a screw down case back. This is a Miyota 9039, so it beats at 2800 beats per second, and it's just the no date version of the 9015. So there is no ghost date in here, which, you know, is a nice feature. I did want to mention that if you get the porthole, the 44 millimeter bronze one, which I couldn't even imagine wearing this in a 44 millimeter, it'd be so much bigger. It is more of an expensive watch. This watch, and I didn't even mention the price, is $599 on Helsin's website. So it's, you know, it's a little bit more expensive, but if you're looking for something unique, it's still, I think, a very relatively good price for being such a unique non-homage. I mean, this case has not been used by anybody else. This is, you know, probably machined with a CNC machine, you know, all on its own. So, you know, there's some R&D costs that have to be factored into the development of this watch, and all the unique features and these, you know, these chrome pieces. I mean, it is a unique piece. You know, you can't argue that. And so the price, when you take other, you know, microbrand watches that are maybe selling for $300 or $400, $500, you know, $600 for something completely unique and off the wall. And if that's your cup of tea, I mean, I don't think the price point's too bad, to be honest. And you know, just thinking about it. Now, if you do get the 44 millimeter in bronze, it has the ETA 2824. So it's a Swiss powered movement. It is actually almost $1,300. It's $1,299. So it's $1,300. So it's substantially more expensive, and you're getting obviously a bigger block of bronze. But that's not the one that we have here today. This is the stainless steel one. One of the things that I noticed about this particular watch, and I know Bob's going to be watching this video, this lug right here, you can see how it points out a little bit. Probably what you can do, I would assume, is you loosen that one up and maybe turn the lug slightly in, and then that would straighten out that lug. I think that lug protrudes out just a hair, and you know, most of us, we don't really care. I mean, we wear the watch, it wears well, and you know, holds the straps in just fine, and you know, the spring bar is fine, so you know, it's not going to really matter much. But just notice that as I'm looking at it. And I actually noticed that over the last couple of days. Let me talk about Helsin for a minute, just because when I started to venture into microbrands, Helsin was one of the first microbrands that I ever purchased. And I've owned two. I owned a Shark Diver 42 millimeter bronze watch probably 5-6 years ago. So it was one of my first microbrand watches, and it is so well built, and it is a unique design. The thing I love about Helsin, they do some of their own, original designs, and the Shark Diver is one of those. And I really like the watch. I just wasn't too big of a fan of bronze at that moment in my collecting journey, if you will. Then I own one of the skin divers, the 39 millimeter skin diver that's a Blancpain homage. I liked it, and I liked it at the time. It was a little too small for my wrist, that I felt, but now that smaller watches have become more, I guess, everybody's wearing them, and then after I went back to like a little bit bigger 42 millimeter watches, I realized, oh, that 40 or 39 millimeter was actually quite comfortable, and so I really like that watch. That's a watch that I'd actually rebuy. But now you can see there's so many homages with that exact same case, the exact same case. But Helsin was one of the first to build out that case design of the skin diver. Now, Bob, my friend that owns this particular watch, he also has a hammerhead, which is like the dual crown Longines diver. I forget what the name is right off the top of my head, but he also has the skin diver as well. So he owns one. He owns 3 different Helsins, and they're really well made watches. I will stand by that I've owned a few. I've owned them for years, and they're very popular with enthusiasts. Those of us that are enthusiasts, we enjoy something a little different. We enjoy, watches that are not going to be seen on everybody's wrist, and we can appreciate them. They may not be an Omega, or no, they might not be a Rolex, but there's something unique, and we just enjoy for me, I enjoy the thrill of the hunt, but B, we enjoy just wearing different timepieces, and that's what these are all about. So let me show you the operation of the Helsin really quick, because I want to point out a couple of things. First of all, like I said, this is a 500 meter watch, screw down crown. The crown action is really positive on this Helsin. Very, very, very good. You can actually see, if you take a really close look, you can see the gaskets in there, and it, obviously it's built for duty. You can, push that in, pull it back, catch the stem, and then we're good to go, right? So now it's tightened down. Now on the other side, this crown right here will move the bezel, the internal rotating bezel. Now let me pop that out. It'll pop out there. It just popped out. Same thing as far as the gaskets, right? Now you can't pull that out necessarily, okay, because it's right now it'll adjust the internal bezel. Now I want to point out this bezel. How many of you have owned Alpinists? A few years ago, I owned several Alpinists on all sorts of variations. I owned one of those Alpinists that looks like an SKX with the teal or emerald dial. I owned one of the original 1990s, early 2000s, 1990s smaller Alpinists. I've owned, obviously the Sarb 17, and I haven't owned any of the newer ones over the last year or two since they re-released them all. But what I notice on all those internal bezels is that they just can't get it right. But look at this bezel. I'll take you all the way out to the 30. Look how it lines up. I mean, that's pretty awesome, right? You look 15, 45. It lines up well. Why can't brands like Seiko get that right? I mean, but I've seen a lot of, to be fair, I think this is very difficult to do. And I've seen a lot of micro brands try to do those internal bezels, and they just end up screwing up the alignment, or the manufacturer does. But this Helson porthole is done really well. I mean, you can see it's all, all lined up all the way around. I mean, this is an offset, time, and I'll bring it right back up to midnight. And then once you do that, you pop in the crown, and then, did I do it on the right side? Righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, there we go. And then, we're back. And did I line that up? It's hard to tell from this angle, but I think it's lined up or close to. I can adjust it. But anyway, let me show you how it looks on my wrist. So, and then, hopefully you've seen some loom shots as well. This is a 1980 Citizen Challenge Diver. I've owned 4 of these, and this is my most recent one. Love this watch. I'll do a review on this classic beauty sometime soon for you. There's a lot of history with those particular watches. All right, let's put this one on. And one of the other things I want to mention, this strap is a Cuda strap, which is a really, really nice brand. I've noticed that Helsin puts in with their watches really high quality accessories. And this comes with a shark mesh too, which I'll point out. Okay, so this obviously would be good and good enough length. I have a 7.25 inch wrist. See how it fits? Fits really well. There's like a little higher up on my wrist. But that crown, you would think, oh, that's going to be intrusive, but it's not. It actually fits really, really well. Let me move my Citizen out of the way, but you can see how well that looks on the wrist, right? Here's the shark mesh that comes with it. Let's pull it apart. I own a strap code shark mesh, which I would say the quality of the metal is maybe better than the shark mesh. Just a little different too, but still very well made shark mesh from Helsin that's included with the watch. But this is what it looks like on the supplied rubber strap. And I don't know if I mentioned this, but let me take it back off again. Let me just show you really quick. There are drilled lug holes, which make it very easy to change out the straps. Since this is not my watch, I'm going to go ahead and leave it as is. But I'm sure it looks phenomenal on the shark mesh, and I'm sure you guys could, look at this and say, "Oh, I bet it does." Anyway. Guys, if you've owned this watch or you've seen this watch before or you've read things online, please comment below, because I think it would help the entire watch community that's actually looked at these, because there's nothing, no reviews on this watch. And so I think that everybody would benefit from your comments if you have any. And, like I said, it's a love it or hate it type of thing. I definitely did not like it when I first saw it. It's just not my cup of tea. But now that I've held it and I've, felt it, and it wears really well, and it's built very, very well in Helsin fashion. Their quality of their craftsmanship of their manufacturer is it's great. And if you've never tried the brand, I may not have one in my collection right now, but I've really enjoyed my ownership of this brand. It's an Asian company. I think they're out of Singapore. Or it might be Hong Kong. Don't quote me on that though. You could mention that in the comments as well. Anyway, if you've made it this far, let me introduce myself. My name is Blake. I'm a bit of a watchaholic, and if you've made it this far, I bet you are one too. So make sure you like this video, subscribe if you are a watchaholic, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for tuning in.